You're listening to the Touch 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we have UFC Fight Night Lemos versus Andraj. Preview, predictions, and analysis. UFC Fight Night takes place this upcoming Saturday, April 23rd, from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. And in the main event of the evening, you have a banger of a strawweight main event between the number 10 ranked Amanda Lemos, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories, 1 defeat, and 1 no contest, going up against the number 1 ranked strawweight in the division, Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade, former strawweight world champion. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right. I know it's been a little bit since we've actually had a full-fledged podcast episode, and for that, I apologize, but we are back today. Before we get into the breakdown of the fights and the predictions and analysis and everything that you know these podcasts to be known for, I just want to say, first of all, that Manel Kape versus, I just broke down the fight. Sumadarji. So Sumadarji versus Manel Kape has been canceled. Seems that Manel Kape has some personal reasons. It sucks because I was really looking forward to breaking down that fight, and that's honestly probably the fight that I spent the most time with on the film study. So it's not time wasted. It's not work wasted. It's just work put off until we have to give you that analysis on a further breakdown. I'm sure it's going to get rescheduled for a fight night or a main card of a pay-per-view somewhere down the line, maybe a prelim main event for a big card down the line. So I'm sure I'll be able to break down Manel Kape versus Sumadarji for you at some point, but it's not going to be this weekend, so I apologize for that. Other than that, I don't know if any of you guys had watched the PFL debut for the 2022 season last night. The main event, Clay Collard versus former UFC veteran Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens. Absolutely phenomenal. A back-and-forth stand-up war for the entirety of the fight. Stevens landed some brutal body kicks, landed that right hand multiple times on Collard. Collard was able to push forward, keep his hands up, took some bombs from Jeremy Stevens. Both of these guys took massive shots from each other, and they stood in the pocket and they went to war. Clay Collard mixed it up a little bit better with the touch, rip to the body, touch, rip to the body, back up top, even with a 1-2-3-3 body, switch, flying knee, elbow, boom, 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 boom. You know, he was mixing it up with the volume striking, but what Clay Collard had in volume, Jeremy Stevens made up for it with I'm the hardest hitting 145er up here on the stage. You know, hashtag who the fuck is that guy? But I mean, I think Jeremy Stevens, I know he lost his first fight in the PFL, but I think he's going to have a pretty successful career over in the Professional Fighters League. I did get the chance to ask him a couple questions at the pre-fight press conference. So if you haven't been able to check out any of my stuff from the pre-fight press conference, go to my YouTube channel, Touch 'em Up Podcast. I have all of my questions and answers from that pre-fight press conference. It's about a 20-minute video, a little bit less than 20 minutes. And then obviously I tried to get on the post-fight presser. It was kept short, and they only got the chance to talk to Clay Collard. So I didn't get the chance to ask any questions on the post-fight presser, but really solid performance from both men there. That's probably one of the best fights in PFL history, one of the best MMA fights in stand-up wars I've ever seen. Last night's card was great. I mean, just crazy fights last night. I mean, Raush Manfield coming in prior to the PFL 1 saying, I'm here to get finishes. If I see the guy rocking, I'm going to go for a finish. Looks like he was probably going to lose the decision to the Magic Man, Don Madge. Steps in with a beautiful overhand, catches Madge on the chin and knocks him out, jumps on him to get the finish. So a big finish for Raush Manfield. Big finishes for Omari Akhmedov. A finish for somebody I'm forgetting. There was another finish on the card. I can't think of it. Natan Schultz ended up, I think he lost that decision. Here, let me check this out. I mean, I literally just watched the fight yesterday, but I just want to look these results up so I do not get them, you know. Here, 2021 PFL 1. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull it up here. So, yeah, Clay Collard obviously took the decision over Jeremy Stevens. Raush Manfield got that KO against Don Madge in the 3rd round of a fight that I think a lot of people believe that he was losing. Antonio Carlos Jr. got the quickest finish in PFL history, or quickest submission finish in PFL history, with that first round Darce choke over Delon Monte. I mean, hurt him on the feet, kind of knocked him out on the feet, jumped on him for ground and pound, and as he went to stand up to his feet and get up to the hip, you saw Antonio Carlos Jr. lock up that Darce choke and get that finish. Yeah, House Manfield via knockout over Don Maj. Clay Collard by decision. Carlos Jr. via that submission. This was it. Olivier Aubin Mercier ended up winning the fight against Natan Schultz, former PFL lightweight champion, two-time PFL lightweight champion. Beat him via split decision. I watched the fight. I thought Natan Schultz won the second and the third round. I thought it was close. I thought that Aubin Mercier looked very good. I thought that his striking, his movement, his lateral movement, his ability to evade a lot of shots and come back with that slick 1-2 from the southpaw stance. I thought Aubin Mercier's striking looked probably the best we've seen it in his career. He looked probably the sharpest we've ever seen him. He ends up getting the decision victory, even though it was a split. I edged it for Natan Schultz. I thought Natan squeaked out 2 out of the 3 rounds. I thought he put the pressure on in that third round, walked him down, got in his face, landed some good shots, and really kind of took it over in that third. I think it was back and forth for the first 2, but I gave the advantage to the former champion in that third round, and it was a close fight. I mean, I think it was kind of split down the middle for people who on social media, but I did think that Natan Schultz did enough to win that fight. And then probably the biggest upset of the night, you had Corey Hendricks defeating a former champion in Emiliano Sordi via TKO in the second round. Looked like he lost the first round pretty dominantly. It looked like we were getting another Emiliano Sordi victory, which we've come to, be pretty comfortable with when it comes to the PFL. But the longer the fight went, he chopped him down with a brutal right calf kick. And you saw Emiliano Sordi immediately just kind of lift his leg up, and you saw him grimace in pain. He tried to walk it off and play it off, but Corey Hendricks smelled blood. Boom, boom, chopped to the low leg again. You saw again just the grimace on Sordi's face. He jumped on him. He got the takedown, got into the full mount, and landed brutal ground and pound to get that TKO. Corey Hendricks has been in the PFL. I think that a lot of people thought that Hendricks was a guy who is always going to be, counted out. He was in a showcase bout last season, I believe, and then he's been in the PFL for a while. I think he's been counted out by a lot of fans, and this was a signature performance and a huge upset victory for Corey Hendricks. So Hendricks gets the 3 points, I believe, for the second round TKO finish, either 3 or 4 points, and moves on to the next round. Big win for Corey Hendricks, and definitely the upset of the night. Alexander Martinez and Stevie Ray. In my opinion, aside from the main event, this was the best fight on the card. Back and forth between both men, a lot of scrambles, a lot of jiu-jitsu exchanges, submission exchanges, going for leg locks, working the Ashigarami game, trying to lock up a submission, spinning out, spinning to take the back. Stevie Ray almost getting a calf slicer. Alexander Martinez almost getting a triangle, but Stevie Ray was able to circle out and, rotate his hips to take the back. I mean, just back and forth work from both men, and that was probably one of the best fights of the night. I think best fight probably it has to go to the main event. I think best performance, breakout performance for PFL 1 would probably go to Corey Hendricks with that win over Emiliano Sordi. Best fight of the night, the main event, 100%, one of the best fights I've ever seen between Jeremy Stephens and Clay Collard. And then most technical fight, I think I'd have to give to Martinez and Stevie Ray. I was really hoping that Stevie Ray was going to pull through. I did get the chance to talk to him in the pre-fight presser. But, it is what it is. It was a split, 30-27, 29-28, 30-27. Oh, no, it was unanimous. I'm sorry, not a split decision. I thought Martinez did enough to edge it out, but I thought they could have given it to Stevie Ray. I thought you could have given him 2 out of 3 rounds because he was really active, his submission attempts, the scrambling ability. I definitely don't. I'm not mad that Martinez won, and I think he probably deserved it, more than Stevie Ray did. But Stevie Ray did get that knockdown in the second round, so I don't really think you can call it a unanimous decision. You definitely can't call it a 30-27 if you knock down the opponent in the second round, unless the rest of the round was dominated by Martinez, which it wasn't. It was back and forth. So I edged it. I gave it to Stevie Ray, but it is what it is, and I'm sure he'll get another fight later on in the season, and we'll see who he goes up against next. But I'm excited to see Stevie Ray in the PFL. Martin Hamlet defeated Theodoros Oxtolis via decision, dominant 30-27. Elmari Akhmedov with that brutal overhand left, I believe, in the first round. 1 minute, 25 seconds to get the knockout punch there as well. Rob Wilkinson defeated Bruno Sauto via TKO in the second round at 46 seconds. A lot of finishes for the first event of PFL, and a banger and a war in the main event. to close out the first event, and can't wait for PFL 2 coming at you soon. Okay, well, that's enough for the PFL. Let's get into what we came here to do and break down Lemos versus Andraj, UFC Fight Night, Andraj versus Lemos. We'll start off in the prelims. We're going to do one prelim. I think everybody, if you're following mixed martial arts consistently, you know what fight we're going to break down, and that is a fight in the welterweight division with the long-anticipated debut of five-time kickboxing world champion, starting his career in professional mixed martial arts, getting a crack in the UFC in the welterweight division at Dean the Sniper Berry. He comes into this fight with a record of 4 victories and 1 defeat, going up against Mike the Truth Jackson, whose professional MMA record is 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 no contest. The one win he had was overturned to a no contest due to marijuana usage, which wouldn't be done anymore in the UFC because they don't test for recreational use of marijuana via USADA anymore. But that is Mike the Truth Jackson. He got his 1 victory at UFC 225 over current AEW superstar in Phil CM Punk Brooks. Honestly, I don't really have a lot to break down here. Dean Barry has a very karate, traditional martial arts style. It's in and out movement. It's an orthodox stance in and out. Lead high kicks, lead hook kicks, rear round kicks, a good solid snappy 1-2, moves laterally, moves in and out very well. Kind of a mixture of a Robert Whitaker, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Raymond Daniels. Gives me all those vibes, a little bit of a Conor McGregor twang to him. In and out, light on the feet. Pop with the 1-2, pop with the jab. 1-2, lead body kick. 1-2, lead high kick, spinning hook kick, lead hook kick. He's got good shots, very good ability to switch stance. You saw him catch one of his most recent opponents before he got into the UFC via switching to southpaw with the right hand and then stepping through with that left hook off that stance switch and knocking his opponent out cold. That is the last fight he had before he got the call from Dana White to go into the UFC. Mike Jackson against CM Punk. He had another fight in the UFC that he lost to Mickey Gall. I feel like they use Mike Jackson as the proverbial sacrificial lamb. You send him in against one of your prospects, one of your up-and-comers, one of the guys you want to give a win to, and, that's what he's used for. They did it with Mickey Gall. He dropped him with a shot, jumped on his back, got the rear naked choke. Mickey Gall also has a victory over CM Punk. Mickey Gall hasn't done too well lately in his career. He has some good wins in the UFC, a victory over Sage Northcutt, a good fight against Mike Perry. He's had some good fights in his career, most recently getting knocked out viciously by Mike Malott, who made his UFC debut off the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. But when it comes to this fight, I think Dean Barry is just on a different level. Mike Jackson has decent hands, a good jab, a good 1-2, really low hands, kind of a boxing Philly shell type of style. He's going to look to pop that jab, move laterally, 1-2, left hook. When he gets crowded and trapped up in the clinch, he doesn't really have a lot to offer in terms of the grappling and jiu-jitsu side of the MMA game. But I think Dean Barry's slickness on the feet, his speed of the 1-2 that he throws, the high kicks, the lead hook kicks, I think it's just going to be way too much for Mike Jackson. And I think it's just going to be a signature performance for Dean Barry in his UFC debut. So I predict the sniper Dean Barry to get the victory via a first round TKO. I think he catches him with one of those lead hook kicks, stuns him, jumps in, lands the 1-2, drops Mike Jackson, jumps on him, and gets the finish. So my pick is Dean the Sniper Barry to defeat Mike the Truth Jackson via a first-round TKO victory in his UFC debut, and a highly anticipated one at that. All right, now let's continue with the main card. The first fight we're going to break down on the main card is in the featherweight division between a former lightweight named Groovy Lando Venata, who holds a professional mixed martial arts record of 12 victories, 5 defeats, and 2 no contests, going up against Canada's own Charles Air Jourdain, who comes into this fight with a record of 12 victories, 4 defeats, and 1 no contest. I think this is 100% the fan fight of the night. I think this is the fight you're going to want to look forward to the most. This is what you're going to want to watch the most because both of these guys have a very similar style. I would say power and explosiveness, though, is more on the side of the current featherweight in Charles Air Jourdain. And then with slickness and movement and technical ability and the fakes and feints, I would give that the edge, or I would give the edge in that aspect to Groovy Lando Venata. I think when you look at this fight and break it down, it is a very close fight. I think it's almost the definition of a pick'em They both have aspects of the fight where I believe they can take over compared to the other person. Like I said, I think the power you have to give to Charles Jourdain, but I also think that the power that he uses can be a blessing and a curse at the same time because he seems to load up on a lot of his shots. He does fight from orthodox. He's got a very good 1-2. Solid right hand, a solid jab, but a lot of his best work is done from that southpaw stance. And due to the fact that Vannata is an orthodox fighter as well, I think we're going to see Charles Jourdain work a lot from that southpaw stance. He's going to try to get that outside foot, open up the avenue for that power left body kick. He's got one of the best left high kicks in the game of MMA. Solid left body kick, a solid left high kick. Can even spin it up and chamber it into a spinning hook kick, or I'm sorry, not a hook kick, a spinning wheel kick, which he landed on Andre Ewell in his last fight in the UFC, and that breakout performance for him just kind of pushed him back, dominated the fight, took over as it went on, and was able to just break him with the pressure, continue to push forward, land that beautiful left hook, a beautiful right hook from southpaw. I think that right hook over the jab of Lando Vannata is going to be big, big money for Jourdain here. I think when it comes to Vannata, you've seen him fight Tony Ferguson in his UFC debut. And not only did he fight Tony Ferguson in his UFC debut, he almost finished him. He dropped him multiple times, he stumbled him. Tony tried to roll into a leg lock. It didn't work. He got back up. Vannata, boom, Cal caught him again. He actually caught a lead body kick and then used that to, catch, hold off on the head, frame, slip off to his left, and land a right high kick on Ferguson, which dropped him, had him spinning around all over the octagon. Vannata jumped on him, tried to get the finish, almost had him out of there, but Tony was scrambling enough. He was moving around enough. He was using that funky style that he likes to portray, that CSO champ shit only style, and eventually was able to lock him up in a Darce choke and get the submission. But that was a big performance. He also had that spinning wheel kick KO against John Makdessi, brief little front side kick to the knee to touch and control the distance, and then spinning with the right leg to land that wheel kick KO. Beautiful performance from Lando Vannata in that fight. Back and forth war with David Tamer at UFC 209. He's had a little bit of an up and down career, though, in the UFC as of late. Most recently, he got the decision victory over Mike Grundy in his debut at the 145-pound division. And I think the best thing from Vannata in that fight was his takedown defense, because I think Grundy only got like 2 out of 20 takedowns or something like that. Very good ability to use the whizzer, good ability to sprawl out, good ability to turn around and limp leg out, scramble out. He's not an easy guy to take down. And I think a lot of people thought that at 145 coming down from 55, he was going to be drained. He was going to be depleted. He wasn't going to be able to keep the pace up for all 3 rounds. And I could see that as an aspect where, against a different caliber of an opponent at 45 besides Grundy, that could be a problem. But Vannata is a pressure fighter, I think, but he's also the type where he can get into a firefight. He can get into a war, but he can also play that clean, technical outside game and use a lot of fakes and feints. I think fakes and feints and setting up the combinations for Vannata, along with that lateral movement, is going to be his biggest weapon against Jourdain. Jourdain has very good switch stance combinations. He likes to go 1-2, switch very quickly and land the overhand right or left, depending on if he's orthodox or southpaw. That switch stance overhand, switch stance straight, he's very good at that. Another thing I think that Jourdain is good at that is a little bit underrated is the fact that he switches stances so effortlessly. He moves laterally from left to right, but a lot of people will take an overstep, or they'll overstride, or they will overcommit to the lateral movement and telegraph the stance switch. With Jourdain, he can switch almost from in the pocket. It's 1-2, brief step off, switch to southpaw, right hook, straight left, right hook to the body, 1-2 from southpaw, brief step back to your left hook, right hand, 1-2, switch, step, boom, overhand left. He can switch from very in close quarters. There's not a lot of telegraph movement, not a lot of telegraph strides with his footwork. And I think that can be dangerous when you get Vannata up against the fence. But with Vannata's footwork, his in and out movement, his light on the feet, in and out style, they call him groovy for a reason. He's got a wheel kick KO. He landed a high kick on Tony Ferguson. He's good on the feet, good with the pity pat shots, good with the volume. Pop, 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 pop. And I think with this fight, the volume striking of Venata and the footwork of Venata, paired with the feints, is going to cause Jourdain a lot of problems. I like Charles Jourdain. I'm very high on this kid. I think that he can do very good work in the UFC. I think that he can make a big name for himself. But you have to look at performances. He got knocked out via body shot, finished by what's his name? I just had it in my head. Marcelo Rojo. Marcelo Rojo finished him with a body shot in their fight. The fight against Julian Erosa, he dropped Erosa. He's got the power to knock out people. You've seen it. His speed, his power, it's a lot. But if you pressure him back and you push him back and don't allow him to control the pace, don't allow him to control the center of the octagon, get in his face and make it a war, that can be a problem for Jourdain, and he can kind of succumb to the pressure. I think Venata's a guy who can do just that. Even at 45, I think he can get in the face, push him back. You saw the fight against Bobby Green. It was back and forth. The first fight was a draw. They had a rematch. Bobby Green won it. Bobby Green did drop him. He hurt him multiple times in the fight, but Venata kept coming. He kept moving forward. He doesn't throw in 6, 7, 8, 9 punch combos. But when he starts to feel himself, when he puts it together, he can use that slick lateral movement, that slick footwork, the slick combinations, pop, pop, pop with a left hook, rip to the body, southpaw, boom, 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 switch. I think we're going to see Jourdain fight southpaw for a lot of this fight. Going to be looking for the left body kick, going to be looking for the straight left, going to be looking for the check right hook over the lead jab of Venata. Those are going to be his best weapons. I think we're going to see him chop the inside low kick and the body kick a lot from that southpaw stance. But I think the longer the fight goes, we're going to see Venata try to use his wrestling a little bit, even if it's used to just feint and then come back up with a 1-2, feint, come back with a 6-3. Even if it's used to feint and throw those combinations, I think that that's going to make Jourdain a little bit less. It's going to make him more hesitant, and it's going to make it a little bit harder for him to commit on his shots, because even though Jourdain is a great striker, he's got great technique, beautiful right hook, beautiful left hook, beautiful shots to the body, one of the best left body kicks and left high kicks from southpaw you'll see in the UFC, and I truly do believe that. But I feel like, the fakes and feints and his overcommitting sometimes to try to throw that power shot and knock the opponent out. Overcommitting can open up the takedowns for a guy who has good takedown defense, but also has good grappling in his own right in Lando Venata. And when it comes to Jourdain, he doesn't have the best takedown defense. If you look at the stats very quickly, I know we don't break down stats usually for the early fights on the card, but when it comes to takedown defense, he's got a 48% takedown defense. Venata's got a 68% takedown defense. Now, takedown accuracy on the side of Venata's only a 40%, but with that overcommittance and over confidence in those shots sometimes where he overthrows and kind of throws, goes hip over feet, I feel like, or goes torso over lower half a little bit too much. I think that can open up some takedowns and clinch control and stuff like that for Venata, which paired with the pressure, paired with the forward pressure, I think that could be a recipe where Venata can bank rounds, Venata can steal it. And when it comes to the prediction for the fight, I'm going to go with Lando Venata. I'm going to go with Groovy. I think Groovy Lando Venata defeats Charles Air Jourdain via a 29-28 split decision. I think it's a close fight. I think this is definitely 100% your fight of the night. I thought the fight of the night was going to be Sumu Darji versus Manel Kape, but that fight obviously got canceled, so it's not happening no more. So this, in my opinion, will be the fan favorite and the fight of the night. But I'm going to go with Groovy Lando Venata to go 2-0 at 145 pounds and defeat Charles Air Jourdain via a 29-28 split decision. All right, and now we move to the co-main event of the evening in the UFC's lightweight division between UFC veteran, MMA veteran, and quote-unquote caveman Clay the Carpenter Guido, who comes into this fight with a crazy record of 37 victories and 21 defeats, almost 60 fights to his name. That's not including amateurs, so over 60 for sure, but almost 60 pro fights is pretty crazy. Going up against Claudio El Nino Puelles, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories and 2 defeats. I believe it's Claudio Puelles or Claudio Puedes. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but 11-2 versus 37-21. Now, Clay Guida is the same type of fighter. He's a wild man. He's kind of, tapered down his wild man tendencies. Maybe he doesn't throw as crazy as he normally does. He doesn't wind up as much. He doesn't get into firefights as much. He plays it a little bit more technical with his movement, a lot of lateral movement, a lot of in and out, a lot of head fakes, a lot of fakes and feints with the hands. He's kind of just trying to freeze you up and then land some good shots on the feet. Boom, 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 1-2-3 combination. He does have some power. I think that's something you got to look at when you look at Guida. Like, he doesn't have a lot of knockouts on his record. I don't believe he has a lot. If his finishes come, they come via submission. I mean, let's pull it up. We'll look at his overall record. He's got 7 wins by way of KO out of 37 wins, 14 wins by submission, and 15 by decision. And then when it comes to losses, he's got 2 losses by KO, 10 by submission, and 8 by decision. Guida's a wild man. He's been around forever. He's fighting out of Round Lake, Illinois. Illinois represent, like, I'm always going to be a fan of Clay Guida. He's always going to be a veteran. If you talk about MMA, you talk about Guida, you talk about, Gilbert grappling and everything like that from back in the day. But overall, I mean, you look at Claudio Puelles. Puelles is a southpaw, Guida orthodox fighter. So Puelles is going to be looking for that right hook, that left high kick, left body kick. He threw it a lot in his last fight against, let me pull it up. Hold on 1 second and I'll get it for you. He threw it a lot in his last fight against Chris Gritzmacher. A lot of left body kicks, a lot of left high kicks, good ability to chamber it up, left high kick, and follow with the left hand behind it. He mixes it up pretty well on the feet, does Claudio. I mean, like I said, good ability to throw the left high kick, chamber up with the follow left hand behind it, kind of like a pullback bow and arrow effect. When you throw that left kick, you pull it back, boom, shoot right into the left hand. Almost like a Superman punch, but you're not leaving the ground. But it's the same type of mechanic where you throw the left kick, pull it back, throw the left hand. You could do it the opposite way. Left hand, fade off into the left high kick. Same with orthodox, right hand, right high kick. A la TJ Dillashaw. He's probably one of the first people you'll see use that with the hiding the kick behind the punch and then fading off to your opposite side. Same side high kicks. They're a big thing in MMA. And I think Dillashaw was one of the first people who really brought that to light in the modern game of mixed martial arts. But when it comes to this fight, I mean, Puelles is known for his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's known for his grappling, his top control, his top pressure, his ability to set up submissions, almost looking for arm bars, looking for knee bars, looking to land shots from the full mount, take your back, get a rear naked choke. You look at Guida's last fight against Leonardo Santos, he almost got finished. Caught up against the cage, landed some good shots. Knees to the body from inside the clinch were dropping Guida, hurting Guida bad. Left hands followed up. Almost finished him multiple times in the fight. It was something that, Guida had to persevere. He had to get through because Santos was on a win streak at the time. But he was able to find a way out of it, find a way to make Santos tire himself out, use that nose to the grindstone wrestling, old school wrestling mentality, the caveman mentality of Clay Guida, and just push forward, persevere, get the takedowns, get his back, and lock up a rear naked choke and get the submission. I mean, that's the way he's going to win this fight, is he's going to have to push forward on Puelles, hurt him with a left hand, hurt him with some big shots on the feet, an overhand right. He's got good overhands. Clay Guida's got some fucking power, man. He's not known as a power puncher. He's not known as a knockout artist. But, man, when he comes forward, he swings. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Jeremy Stevens, but I would give a power advantage and a technical advantage to Stevens. But the way they wing their punches, they do kind of remind me of each other a little bit. But, breaking down the fight, I think Puelles is the way more technical guy on the feet. But I think when it gets to the ground, the wrestling dominance of Guida that he's normally able to portray after tiring these guys out, whether it's through clinch work, whether it's through exchanges on the feet, I don't think he's going to be able to do that as well against a guy in Claudio Puelles who's got submissions. He can scramble on the ground. He can land ground and pound. He can stay on the feet for a while. Good from southpaw against the orthodox and Guida. They both kind of switch back and forth. Guida kind of always moving around. You don't really know what stance he's going to fight in until he's throwing bombs at you. But I think that the younger, rangier fighter and the guy who has, age on his side is going to persevere here. I know a lot of people believe that Guida beat Mark Madsen in that fight, who he's a young up-and-comer. He's not young, but he was an up-and-comer in MMA, and I think that a lot of people believed that Guida beat Mark Madsen by the pace, by the pressure, by the cardio. Cardio is king, and Guida is a perfect example of that because he's almost gotten finished multiple times and then come back and found a way to get a submission or work with that cardio and land the combinations and the volume to get the decisions. But I don't think it's going to work here against Puelles. Could I see him beating Claudio Puelles? I could. I could see the pace and pressure tiring him out in the second and in the third, but I'm not going to side with the veteran here. I think the striking on the feet is going to be a little bit too crisp and too quick and a little bit too clean for Guida. I think he's going to get caught with the left body kick, caught with the left hand, hurt a few times. He's going to try to shoot to use his wrestling, but I think Puelles is going to be able to, float over on the top, use his grappling, use his jiu-jitsu, land some good shots on the feet, and then eventually open up the back and get a submission victory. So my pick is Claudio El Nino Puelles to defeat Clay the Carpenter Guida via I'll go second round rear naked choke submission. I think he's going to submit Guida. That's the way Guida loses the most fights when it comes to finishes. He's less likely to get KO'd, but he's been submitted multiple times in his career, and I think we get another submission here from the jiu-jitsu ace in Claudio Puelles. So my pick is Claudio Puelles to defeat Clay the Carpenter Guida via second round rear naked choke submission. All right, and now we move to the main event of the evening in the women's strawweight division. You've got the number 10 ranked strawweight and Amanda Lemos, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories, 1 defeat, and 1 no contest, going up against the former strawweight champion, the number 1 ranked strawweight in the division, in brawler/power puncher. In my opinion, she's the female embodiment of a Wanderlei Silva in the number 1 ranked Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade, who comes into this fight with a record of 22 victories and 9 defeats. I'm going to be honest. I saw this main event about a week and a half ago, and I thought maybe I shouldn't break down these fights. Maybe I should skip these fights. But then I remember I had heard about Amanda Lemos, a few times before, how she was this young, up-and-coming, rising prospect, a young up-and-comer, new blood for the strawweight division, somebody that a lot of fans would need to keep their eyes on, and how she was a knockout artist. You don't get that a lot at strawweight. I mean, you could consider Joanna Jędrzejczyk a knockout artist, but I think she was just more of a, technical, beautiful striker. Yes, she's had knockouts in her career. They've happened multiple times, but she usually goes to a decision. This is the battle of the strawweight division knockout artists. 100%. This is a battle of the KO artists at strawweight. Now, Andrade had moved up to 125 pounds recently, tried to go up against Valentina Shevchenko. A lot of people believe she's the best women's fighter in the world, longtime reigning, defending women's flyweight champion. Couldn't really use her strength, couldn't really do much against Valentina, couldn't outpower her like a lot of people believed, got out-wrestled, out-grappled. She couldn't even lift her in that high crotch position that she used to lift, elevate, and knock out Rose Namajunas to win that strawweight title. That fight still hurts me to this day, that Rose got knocked out by getting dropped on her head, but that's neither here nor there, and we could talk about that on another podcast later on. But Andrade is a powerhouse. She comes forward. She's learned to move her head more in her career than she had normally. In the first fight against Namajunas back at UFC 2, UFC 237. That was actually the first pay-per-view that I broke down on this podcast. UFC 237, Namajunas versus Andrade. I think that was in her hometown of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. But you learned to, in the first fight against Namajunas, she got pieced up on the feet. She was getting popped the 1-2, the 1-2-3, the jab, the 1-2, fake, throw the cross. Everything she was throwing, she was landing because she didn't use a lot of head movement. In the rematch at UFC 251, which Namajunas ended up winning via decision, even though it wasn't for the title because Weili Zhang had defeated Andrade via first-round TKO for their fight in China, which I believe was the first UFC event in China, or one of the first UFC events in China, and she became China's first world champion in that fight night main event. Big win for Weili Zhang, and Weili is actually going to be rematching Joanna Jędrzejczyk in a rematch from UFC 250? What's 248? Yeah, a rematch from UFC 248, I believe. And they're going to be rematching at strawweight. So I cannot wait to see that fight because that's one of the best women's fights you'll ever see. But back to the task at hand, Lemos versus Andrade. Andrade used a lot more head movement in that second fight against Namajunas. a lot more slipping off the center line, coming back with a cross, coming back with a jab, coming back with a left hook, slip off the center line, left hook, slip off, right hand, left hook, right hand. She's very good at stalking, pressuring, measuring fighters, pushing them back, and getting you to back up to the cage where she can land her wide power shots. I mean, she's got power. She's got some of the most power and the heaviest hands for a women's fighter across all of MMA, but she's also got the strongest hands and the strongest shots in the strawweight division, in my opinion. She's the biggest, she's the heaviest hitter, I guess you could say. Left hook, right hook. She caught Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Man, these names are skipping my head today. With a beautiful left hook off the break. Boom! Dropped her, knocked her out cold. One of the first times in women's MMA that we saw a one-shot KO. But on the other side, you've got Amanda Lemos. 11 victories, 1 defeat, 1 no contest. Lemos is a knockout artist in and of herself. And she's also a lot more sharp, clean, and technical than Andrade. She knows how to keep the fight at range. She uses very good pivots off that lead leg, very good angle steps, very good left hook, pivot off to the lead side, get away from the potential power shot. Jab, jab, 1-2, hook, right low kick, jab, low kick, front teep kick, stepping in, 1-2, left hook, right hand, left hook. I mean, clean, technical, sharp, and precise striking is on the side of Amanda Lemos. Good Thai style of striker. That's what I kind of portray her as, is like a Muay Thai striker in MMA. A lead teep to the body, left hook, a right hand, 1-2, hook to the body, boom, boom. But the power and the speed and there's no windup on her shots. I mean, if you look at a lot of the knockouts she's gotten in her MMA career and just inside of the UFC, let's pull it up really quick. Let's pull it up. We'll go back, pull up for the main event. Here we go. Amanda Lemos. 11 victories overall in professional MMA, 7 wins coming by way of knockout, 2 by submission, and 2 by decision. When you look at her most recent fight, she has a decision victory. It was a split decision over Angela Hill. Angela Hill's a veteran of the sport. You know, I think a lot of people are souring on that fight, thinking like, oh, she won, but it was a split decision. You know, she's not going to beat a girl like Andraj, a former champion. It's just not going to happen. Look at the last fight before that against Montserrat Ruiz, TKO first round, 35 seconds in. Before that, UFC 259, Blachowicz versus Adesanya, a TKO victory, first round, 3 minutes, 39 seconds over Liviana Souza. Prior to that, a decision victory over Mizuki Inoue. That was on August 22nd, 2020. And then before that, a technical submission over Miranda Granger via rear naked choke in the first round at 3 minutes and 43 seconds. Prior to that, she lost via TKO to Leslie Smith, which was back in July of 2017. It was her first fight in the UFC. It was Leslie Smith. I know she's not the best fighter in the world. She's not the best women's fighter, not even close. So a lot of people may look at that and think, it's not going to happen. There's no way that Lemos is going to beat a powerhouse and a former champion in Andrade. But, you know, 2017 to 2022, that's a 5-year difference. And since then, she's gone 5-0 in the UFC. 3 finishes and 2 decisions. 2 finishes by way of KO, TKO, and in the first round. The submission came in the first round as well with that rear naked choke. She's got a lot of power. She's very clean, very technical, very good low kicks, a right low kick for days. I think that's something that Andrade is going to have to look out for. But the long punches, keeping Andrade at range, that's what's going to, carry her in this fight. The jab, the 1-2, the long cross, the 1-2, left hook, pivoting off. And the fact that she doesn't just walk forward, she uses lateral movement. She traps you. She cuts you off. She 1-2, hook, pivot off on the lead leg, step through, pivot off. 1, 2, 3, pivot off, check hook, and pivot. She's not standing in front of you. She's not a stationary target. When it comes to Andrade, when she has the most success, it's against girls that she can pressure, push back, get in the face, use the body shots, use the shots up top to the head, use that body punch, those body punches to work up top to the head and land the power shots. But it's girls who she can bully. It's girls who she can walk down, maybe slip off the center line because she's used more head movement than she has recently. Slip off the center line, come back with a cross hook. Then she's going to walk forward, try to cut you off, maybe circle left, circle right, trap you up against the cage, and then rip those hooks to the body, rip the hook up top to the head, and try to get a finish. That's what Andrade does. I don't necessarily think that that's going to work.
Wrong size. Look at this huge thing.
Yeah, so like I was saying, you're not going to be able to walk Amanda Lemos down. You might be able to slip a jab, maybe slip on the inside, come over the top of the right hand, left hook, right hand. Then you cut her off and get her up against the cage wall. Then you can work your body shots, work your shots up top. But even backing up, Amanda Lemos has power. It's precise. It's crisp. It's clean technique. The shot she knocked out, let me see, who was it? The shot she knocked out Montserrat Ruiz with, it was clean. It was crisp. Just walking backward, pop with a right hand, pop, left hook, right hand, boom, boom, boom. Just as soon as you walk backwards, you're walking forward. She's walking backwards, pop, pop, pop. Just quick, clean, precise technique. Weili Zhang caught Andrade stepping in, caught her trying to walk down that center line and trap her up against the cage. She caught her with a right hand, boom, and a left hook behind it. Hurt her, then hurt her with those elbows and knees from the clinch. But it was the backwards stepping counter ability of Weili Zhang that hurt Andrade in the first place, where she lost her strawweight title. I think Lemos has the same ability. I think Lemos hits harder than, I don't know if she hits harder, but I think she's faster than Weili. And I think that speed adds to the power that you throw in your hands, because if you can't see a shot coming, it's going to hurt you a lot more than the ones you do see. They always say it's the ones you don't see that put your lights out. If Andrade just walks forward and can't time that speed and can't get off the center line fast enough, that right hand, that left hook, that right low kick, the right hand, left hook to the body, right low kick, that's going to be coming at Andrade a lot quicker than I think she normally anticipates. And I do think that Andrade, obviously, she's strong. Obviously, she has power. But we've seen Lemos has jiu-jitsu. She's used top control before. She's gotten takedowns. She's good from the half guard, good from the side control, good from the full mount. She can take your back. She can lock up submissions even when she's not in the correct position, like that rear naked choke she got against Miranda Granger. Put her to sleep. Didn't even have it. Really just used shoulder pressure and put her to sleep. This girl has crazy power. She might be one of the strongest strawweights in the world. One of the strongest strawweights in the division, I should say, not in the world, but that would also be the same thing. But one of the strongest strawweights in the division. And I think that strength paired with the technical ability on the feet, I think we're going to have a new contender. I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos to defeat the former strawweight champion and the number 1 ranked Jessica Andrade via a second round TKO. I think she's going to catch her moving in, catch her stepping in, pop her with the right hand, the left hook behind it, drop her, jump on her, and get the TKO. I just think the speed paired with the power she has, that speed is another level for this division. I think aside from the champion and aside from Zhang Weili, she's one of the fastest girls in this division. She's got 11 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest. I think she makes easy work of Andrade. And I know that's crazy to say because she is a former champion. She beat Namajunas. She fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's fought some of the best, has wins at flyweight. And I just think that overall, I'm very high on Amanda Lemos, and I think she gets the win here. So Amanda Lemos to defeat Jessica Andrade via second round TKO. All right, that's going to be it for this episode today. I hope you enjoyed my preview and predictions for the upcoming fight night this weekend. The Touch 'Em Up podcast is available anywhere you get your audio podcast. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Breaker, and many, many more. Most of these episodes are going to be uploaded to YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, it's the same as the podcast name. To the Touch 'Em Up podcast on YouTube, I have fighter breakdowns. I have pre-fight predictions. I have interviews from my podcast. I have highlights from the first PFL Media Day pre-fight, the first PFL pre-fight Media Day for 2022. And I'm going to have these predictions up there as well. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so we can help grow that alongside this podcast. I'm your host, Double M. Thank you for everyone for the support, and I'm out.